Doug Cash and Eide Bailly.
All right, how's it going, everyone? Real quick before we get started, just like to introduce myself and the others. My name is Brian Jenkins. For those of you who don't know me, I graduated here last December, so I see quite a few familiar faces.
My name is Melissa McCarthy. I'm an audit senior. I graduated from the University of Wyoming, so not too far from here.
And I'm Sarah Kurtz, audit senior manager. I've been with Eide Bailly for almost 10 years, and I graduated from Northern Iowa. So when I moved out to Colorado, I'm looking to get involved in recruiting. UNC is one, and it kind of reminds me of where I went to school too. So thanks for having us here.
So before Doug gets going on his presentation, we have a few things we'd just like to talk with you about that are coming up. The first being Meet Eide Bailly Day. This is geared towards maybe some of the younger students in the room, but it's a chance for you to come to our office in Golden, kind of see what it's like during the day. You get to talk to some of the partners and managers and various staff. You have lunch, play some games. Last year, a lot of people had a good time shooting Nerf guns at cannons and things like that. It's a fun time, so it's really a good opportunity to come and interact with some other students and see what our office is like. And I do have cards and more information. So if you have questions, dates, things like that, just grab one after the presentation. The other thing we have coming up is the Summer Leadership Program. This is geared towards students graduating between December of 2014 and August of 2016. And so what this is you come again to the Golden office and you go through our leadership program. You stay the night in a hotel. We put you up there and dinner, all that good stuff. Again, it's a good way to network, to grow as a leader and learn some of those skills. Meet some of the people in our office. There's a lot of things that we do. Do some community service and just various things. So again, have more information on that, and also look on the Career Services website coming up probably in the spring for more information and ways on how to sign up for that.
I have a non-Eide Bailly related thing. So I'm a member of COPUS, which is the Council of Petroleum Accountants Societies. It's really difficult to say, so nobody ever calls it that. But I'm in the oil and gas industry, and they are basically the go-to people in that industry for procedures, publications, education. In Denver, they do a big education day where all the members are invited, and you learn all about oil and gas, and they have speakers. And they do a lot of the ways to account for certain things in the oil and gas industry, and they publish a lot of information, and a lot of companies will go and read their research and the ways that they recommend doing things in the industry. And so they're very knowledgeable in that regard. They've been around for about 50 years. They have 3,800 members and 24 societies between the United States and Canada. It's a very good organization if you're interested in the oil and gas industry, something to look into. But even if you're not, they are doing a scholarship. They do give away 4 $1,000 scholarships every year. So I have applications. They're not due until March 31st, 2014, so you guys still have a while, but it's again free money. So if you guys want an application or if you want more information, just come stop by after the meeting and we can get that to you.
All right. Well, I guess without further ado, we'll let Doug do his thing over here. So
thanks.
Thank you.
Isn't it amazing how accountants get really nervous when they're standing in front of people? Isn't that just amazing? Well, I can tell you that I'm not an accountant. I really don't care to be. Because I don't care if the left column matches the right column. Doesn't matter to me. Because in my world, that just means somebody lied. I get up in front of groups like this, and I feel like I should go, "Hi, my name's Doug, and I'm not an accountant." Yeah, kind of thing. I have a very cool, thank you very much. Something about that. That's cool. My background is different than anybody else you'll ever meet. I spent almost 30 years as a police officer, working all different types of crime, the vast majority of which was white-collar crime. Started that in the early 90s. Went to work for Eide Bailly about 7 years ago. I have a master's in business, I have a master's in criminal justice. My daughter keeps after me to go back and finish and get a PhD so she can call me Dr. Dad. I'm already paying a lot in student loans. I really don't care to go back and get more, kind of thing. In fact, they send me a notice. I'm lucky enough, I pay them off when I'm 72, if I live out. But I'm also what they call a certified fraud examiner, a certified forensic interviewer, and a certified financial crime investigator, which means it has to do with all different types of financial crimes. And what a lot of people, especially in the accounting world, have never really understood what forensic accounting is. It is a different world, it's a different mindset. Have to ask, how many folks in here are planning on being auditors? Okay, I'm sorry. There's something about my audit, once you become an auditor, there's something about your brain that when you try to do forensic accounting, it goes, it doesn't understand. So I tell people that if you're going to go through the audit field and you want to come in and do what we're going to do, I have to take a magic wand and wave it over your head and clean out your brain. Because I could care less about materiality. I don't care about it. I don't care about sampling. I don't care about any of that junk. Okay? And you have to get that out of there. A couple of quick plugs about Eide Bailly. It's the 23rd largest CPA firm in the country. We have 22 offices in 10 states, and we plan on doubling in size in the next 5 years, from a $175 million company to a $350 million company. It is a phenomenal company to work for. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? So, talked about that. What you may find interesting is while I was a detective working white collar crime, I didn't have a single college degree or certification. Every one of my degrees and everything I've received is since I retired in 2005. I went back to school. Because what I found out is that when you spend so much time in police work, it's no longer what you do, it's what you become. And your whole life is wrapped up in that. And you have to find a way to remove yourself from that world and put yourself in the real world. And one of the easiest ways for me to do that was become a student and interact with people like yourselves to find out just exactly how the young mind works. And it scared the heck out of me when I found out. Okay? But when you talk about forensic accounting, the short answer is we're the detectives of the accounting world. We're the people that go in to find out exactly what happened, where it went, what transpired. For instance, I just talked to a potential client 3 days ago on a trust matter. There's a question of what happened to $18 million in a trust, and I'm getting ready to start that investigation to find out what happened to the money and where it went. The long answer is businesses hire us, or people hire us, to determine who is or who has stolen money from them and how that money was taken. We then become the voice of the business in the courtroom to help hold people accountable for their action. I truly believe that any day an embezzler can go to jail is a good day. I believe they need to go to jail. I believe they need to be prosecuted. I believe they need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. And that's a lot of fun. Okay? News World reports that the bloodhounds of bookkeeping who sniff out fraud and criminal transactions and corporate financial records. That's what they say we do. Actual first forensic accountant was involved in Al Capone and tax evasion. That was the first one. When I got involved in working white collar crime in the 90s, forensic accounting was not something that really stood out. It wasn't a name that you knew about. It wasn't something that people talked about on a regular basis. But it started then. And what I found out is it's more investigative than it is accounting. Because it doesn't matter which column it is, it shows you what happened to the money. And one of the neat things is, it's one of the top 10 growing fields in the country. Actually in the world, in reference to fraud. Because let me tell you, there's not any fraud anywhere. You know, it just happenstance, yeah, right? Okay? It's also spotlighted, that's what the odd jobs say. People ask me, so, well, you know, where are you located? Well, I happen to be located here in Colorado, but I'm responsible for everything, basically, for the Mississippi West, because I travel all over the country. I speak all over the country. I do a lot of presentations on what forensic accounting is. The vast majority of presentations I do has to do with truth and deception. On identifying truth, identifying deception when you're interviewing people. And one of the things I'll tell you real quick is that You as auditors are going to get thrown into the fire because you're going to get sent in to interview people without having any interview training whatsoever. And you're going to be expected to go in and talk to people, especially when it's not in your makeup, to find out what's going on in the business. I want you to be prepared for that so that when it happens, when you get totally scared, at least you'll understand it's coming. So you'll have to go there. But we don't have to be everywhere because of the nature of our work and how special it is. Most of the paperwork and stuff comes to me. I don't go to it. Everything is sent to me. If it comes in hard copies or it comes electronic format, however it comes, we're able to work anywhere. You may find us sitting in a Starbucks someplace, traveling from one place to another, doing bank transactions or what we're looking at. Okay? Something that you need to understand. A fraud cannot be explained by accounting rule of philosophy. I'm engaged to a young lady that I actually met on eArmy, and she is a tax accountant and works for another firm. And we get talking about frauds. And she comes up with all these logical answers on what was going on. And I keep telling her, it's fraud. It's not logical. People are hiding it. They're lying. I know that's hard to believe that people are going to lie, but they do. Okay? Even when they give you your tax information, they may lie about it. Okay? The first indication of fraud may be something that just seems strange, that just may seem really kind of weird. For instance, not too long ago, we had a couple of associates out doing a forensic exam of a business. There happened to be a different firm's audit team there. And some of the documents that we were looking for happened to be in the same room the audit team was. We try not to go in and bother people, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. So they're in there going through the boxes, and one of my colleagues hears this audit associate go, "Hey, I can't find this check. It's not in the system." "Oh, that's okay, just go get another one. Just let's put that one aside, we won't worry about it." And my colleague's ears go, "What? Really? Can I see that check, please?" Because it actually tied directly into the embezzlement that we were investigating. It was a $300,000 embezzlement. Now, if it had to be an audit people from our firm, anybody here watch NCIS? Ever heard of a give slap? The back of the head? That's what we would have been doing to them right there, just smack them in the back of the head. No, you need to pay attention to that, okay? Many frauds are never uncovered because someone doesn't ask why. Why is this happening? What's going on there? Why are checks numbered? What's going on? What's happening? And that's the biggest thing that forensic accountants do, is ask why. And that's amazingly difficult for accountants because they're not used to confrontation. They want everything nice and neat. You have this nice little box that everything fits inside. Everybody lines up their pencils and their pens and everything's normal, and it comes on your computer and everybody's happy and everybody does around and all that stuff. It don't work that way. Okay? You have to ask why. Okay? Embezzlement or employee theft is an emotional crime. What I mean by that is when somebody works for a company and they're there for a long time, there's this thing called trust. And it's built up with people. And it is amazing how much that trust can overwhelm decisions. Did an examination for a moving company that actually had 3 audits in 12 years. Okay? And each time the audit team would go in and talk to the owners and tell them, your manager has too many duties. You need to look at separating some of their duties. Okay? And the manager would literally stand up and go, they're right. You need to listen to them. I have too many duties. It's kind of overwhelming. No, it's okay, everything will be fine. No, you know, you're paying these people to give you their opinion. You should listen to them. And the ladies go, it's okay, we trust you. You're like our daughter. She goes, okay, so she just kept stealing for 12 years. She stole just over $1 million from them. She finally got so tired of stealing, because what a lot of people don't understand is stealing a large amount of money, and a large amount of money is dependent on the company. Where $5,000 may be a large amount of money to one organization, it may take $5 million to be a large amount of money to others. Okay? And that's not material, that's just a large amount of money. But when you try to do that, it is a job. And you have to work at that job. And sometimes you have to work at that job harder than you do your regular job. Which means you have to work, you can't miss time off, You have to control what's going on. Everything has to go through your hands. So finally, she got so tired of doing that, she took an extended vacation, 2 weeks. And someone else picked up her job, and they went, wow, this is weird. What's going on here? Called us in, went in and looked, interviewed everybody. She admitted to it right off the bat. She was tired. She was just trying to keep her lifestyle going because her husband was fighting depression. But the owners were devastated. They asked me, what did we miss? I don't understand. And the question was, is she told you 3 times that she was stealing from you, and you didn't listen to her. You heard, but you didn't listen. And that she was trying to do it, so she kept going, okay? And when emotions get involved, the brain doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work well. Think about yourselves. Anytime you've had a relationship or a friendship, something that didn't go right, and you had an argument, how long does it take your brain to get back into sync to be able to do things? Let's say as simple as writing a letter, studying for a test or something. Your brain is messed up, okay? When the brain does not work well, it has a tendency to overlook or wish things away. That's just the way that Tom does it. That's just the way he looks at it, okay? Well, no, that's not true. That's absolutely not right. Had a investigation not too long ago with a CFO for a big truck company, and they just thought the guy was weird until they finally fired him because he wasn't doing what they thought he was supposed to. The second day of a new CFO, they go, hey, something's wrong here. Why are there handwritten checks in the bank statement? So we go through it. He stole $1.5 million in forged checks alone in 4 years. Half the money was used to pay restitution on 2 prior embezzlements that didn't show up on his background check. Okay? So those kind of things can happen.
Brilliant.
Okay? Believing the obscure and not demanding proof. If something, somebody gives you some information and you don't demand proof, you're part of the problem. You're allowing that to happen. And that doesn't matter whether that's in business or in your private world. If somebody tells you something and it's weird and you don't demand proof and it's found out that it's wrong, you're part of the problem because you didn't ask for proof. Okay? So when we talk about forensic accounting, unfortunately this presentation is going to be a little shorter because I have a couple of clips that I'd like to show, but we don't have any volume for you to hear them, so we'll do that. That's fine. But many fraud investigations conducted in a house are blown. They're just absolutely messed up. And then they call somebody like us and go, can you fix it? Well, sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. How much money do you want to spend to be able to fix this? Okay? A lot of times they're accusing somebody. They just walk in, no, man, it looks like you stole $100. You're out of here. Wait a minute. There's always an explanation. How many of you folks have been somewhere that it looked like you did something that you didn't do and people accused you of it? It's very simple. It happens all the time. They mishandle others. I love when people do investigations and they have like forgeries involved, and they take this document that's obviously it's a forgery, and they take this bright red pen and they circle the name and they write forgery across the front of it. They have just damaged the evidence. Because in the criminal world, the best evidence rule is the original document. So if you've already altered that, we may not be able to use that in criminal court because you destroyed it. So we tell people is please don't do that. Call somebody first. If you want to write on something, make a photocopy of it, write on the photocopy, not on the original document, okay? Many times they fail to obtain written statements. Because you may only get one chance at the person. Not too long ago, I was doing an examination for another car dealership. They seem to lose a lot of money. I don't know why. But this one was cash coming in through the body shop. And the owner wasn't really sure how much was missing. So I went in and I started talking to the controller. And when I talked to the controller, and her response was that she was the controller of convenience. That was my first clue, that there was a problem in River City. And that she didn't have an accounting degree. So that's kind of unusual for a controller not to have an accounting degree. So I asked her to print out some stuff, and she had commingled the money so badly that it was going to cost this poor guy probably $50,000 to figure out what was going on. And I told him, I said, look, I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, you want to spend the 50 grand? I'll do the work, you know, but that's up to you. He goes, is there anything else you can do? And I said, sure. So I thought a minute, because sometimes my brain doesn't work real fast. So I thought, you know, do me a favor, controller of convenience. Print me out a listing of your 30-day past due bills with the amounts on them, so I can see them. So she prints them out. We're 29 on the page. 11 of them were for the same audit, same advisor. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. How come nobody's talked to this advisor about collecting money? Maybe he's kind of slipping through the cracks. Aha. One of these bills is for $14,000 that was past due in January. This is July. So why hasn't this been collected? So I go in and I talk to the service manager and I say, excuse me, service manager, can you be kind enough to tell me who this advisor is? And he goes, yeah, that's me. And I went, really? I said, can you explain to me why you as Mr. Service Manager haven't collected $14,000 from this business since January? He looked me square in the eye and went, you think I ought to call him? And I went, yeah, that might not be a bad idea, but I'm sure that's something we can talk about later. He left at lunch, abandoned his job, left the state, and then by changing the focus of what we were looking at to him, I found a $250,000 investment tied to him, just by the one comment that he made. You think I ought to call him? That's something strange, something you look at, okay? If you ever assume, what's that do? We all know what that does. You never want to assume anything, okay? And one thing that happens here is lack of predication. This is predication. A set of circumstances that will lead a reasonable and professional trained person to believe that a fraud has occurred, is occurring, or will occur. It's more than a hunch. You actually have to have evidence that it's taking place, or going to take place, or that kind of thing. Okay? When we talk about forensic accounting, this is one of the real definitions. Forensic accounting utilizes accounting, auditing, and investigative skills to conduct an examination into a company's financial statements, thus providing an accounting analysis is suitable for court. As a certified fraud examiner, everything I prepare, no matter the value of the loss, has to be prepared as if I'm going to trial. I have to have everything, I hate to use the word, but you have to have all your ducks in a row, you know? It's like all bowls on the roll, plates on the roll. But you have to have it all there, because when I get up on a stand, I have to raise my right hand and swear to it that it is truthful, and that I have all the information I need, okay? And you may only get one chance. And what's interesting about my world, I don't have clients, I have projects. Because if I don't do it right, they're probably not gonna refer me to somebody else. If I don't do it right, they may lose more money. If I don't do it right, the person who did it gets away with it and goes down and does it someplace else. So I have to do it right. I don't get a second chance. It's not like, we goofed that up, we'll just amend it later. I love tax people. I'll just put some numbers in there, we'll just amend it later. But they're not right, that's okay, just put them in there, we'll amend it. Doesn't matter, right or not, just put the number down. Okay? I got my fiancés in all that. Well, just make up some numbers, it's okay. Really? Okay.
You've been working my tax assignment, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just make it up now. Okay? Well, according to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, this is what they say. The essential components of forensic accounting include an attempt to piece together or reconstruct a past event or events using financial information where that reconstruction is likely to be used in some judicial proceeding. Any judicial proceeding that you can think of, a forensic accountant can be involved in. Partner disputes, trusts, nonprofits, oil and gas, whatever it is. Wherever there's money flowing through it, people are going to steal. I've seen people steal from every industry that I could think of. For a long time, there was one that I didn't think anybody would steal from. And that was always the people who would be the last to let you down. Who would that be? Oh, come on. Funeral homes. Morticians. Last ones to let you down. Now, you guys are slow. You sure you guys accountants, you really understand this kind of stuff?
That's why we missed it.
I keep giving you more credit than you deserve. Okay? But now I'm seeing people steal money from prepaid funerals. $1 million the other day. I saw one yesterday from a zoo. Stealing money from the zoo. Were you taking peanuts? I don't know. But now I haven't seen an industry yet that hasn't lost money. School districts, private schools, you think about it, okay? So what you actually have, when you talk about forensic accounting, you have two sections. You have the numbers section and you have the investigative section, okay? But somewhere in their wisdom, they put it all together and called it forensic accounting. We just used to call it fraud examinations, but now it's this fancy term, forensic accounting. But when you take the accounting, this is the numbers, okay? People tell me all the time, well, how do I get to be like you? Well, first of all, you have to drink a lot.
Done.
Okay. Yeah. You gotta get shot at a few times, and that makes you laugh. Okay. But this is the numbers part of it that you have to learn how to do. And people say, well, your background, how did you learn accounting? Well, my accounting was learned from trial and error. Until the point that when I was on the stand, that the attorney stopped attacking the numbers and started attacking me, I knew I was winning. Because the minute they turn it into a character debate, you are winning. Because if you can't destroy the evidence, they have to destroy you. My character is messed up as it is, so it doesn't matter what happens to it. But this is the numbers. Construction, money. Environmental, money. Family estate valuations, money. Trusts, money. Financial contracts, government contracts, intellectual property. That's all money. And what you see in the middle is where this overlaps. Now this is the investigative part of it. This is the hardest part to learn for accountants. Okay? Prevention, deterrence, detection, recovery, fraud controls, and this, training. One thing as a CFE, it is my responsibility to train people, is to let them understand what forensic accounting is, how it can help, how it can hold people accountable, how it can protect money. You know what's amazing to me is that it'll cost you somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 for a business to protect themselves and may never be associated to have a fraud, and could end up costing them $150,000 to investigate it. You know which one's easier to sell? The investigation instead of the prevention. But as people say, it ain't gonna happen to me. That's good English, I like that, okay? But it's amazing. It's okay, it won't happen. Call me back. But it does. Got a call, one of my colleagues got a call. Excuse me, I own this business, and I went into accounting, you know that black hole where everything goes into accounting? And I needed a copy of a receipt. And the door was locked, and I don't have a key. And he goes, your building, your business, your accounting department, and you don't have a key. Correct. What should I do? Well, if it was me, I'd kick in the door, lock the front one, call us, we'll come in and tell you who's stealing what. Because somebody's doing something wrong. If you're the owner and you don't have a key, there's a problem. Okay? So when we talk about forensic accounting and fraud examinations, broad discipline applying accounting skills to legal matters of a wide range of issues, addresses everything in the past, numbers, because obviously it's already happened, it's already been spent, and it uses nothing but financial information, just the numbers themselves. On the fraud examination, it is very focused. You take a very specific thing that you're looking at. It addresses past, present, and future. What happened, what is happening, what will happen. And it uses financial and non-financial information, which means it uses information about people. Everybody does something for a different reason. And understanding that reason is one. Forensic accounting produces information about the finances, just the numbers, and it's used in judicial proceedings. For fraud examination, it is information about the finances, people, and their actions. Why did they do what they did? What caused them to step over that line into the dark side? Step over that line. We use it in business and government, internal proceedings, private, judicial, anything it can be. So you take both sides of those and you add them together, that's forensic accounting, and that's what I do. And I travel around the country and do it, okay?
People ask me all the time, what is the difference between an audit? And first of all, there is no such thing as a forensic audit. You're going to hear that term, it's okay, it just doesn't exist. Okay? You either have an audit or you have a forensic exam. You don't have a forensic audit. People like that term, I don't know. Audits are reoccurring. Fraud is not. General, and you're giving out your opinion, my opinion doesn't matter. I resolve allegation. Either it did take place or it didn't take place. And I don't care which one it is, one or the other. I don't choose sides. I just tell them. Okay? Well, this one, believe it or not, I know adversarial, absolutely, for us. Because you sat in a room across from a CEO that's stolen $20 million, and you want to ask him what he did from that, that gets confrontational. Okay? Most accountants will not do that. They will not confront anybody. Okay? Professional skepticism, everything I look at, will it be taken to trial? Everything goes to trial as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to try my best to be able to get it there. Okay? So why do we pay attention to fraud? Fraud occurs everywhere and no organization is immune. None. Fraudsters are usually insiders. Ever read the stories? What's some of the things they say? That was the last person I would have thought of. That was the most trusted person that worked here. They had been here forever. I can't believe it was them. Insiders. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you run a good business, a bad business, if you're a nice person, a bad person, it doesn't matter. It does not discriminate. Obviously, the changing business environment. I get asked all the time, do I see a direct relationship between the number of embezzlements and the economy forcing them? And I'll tell you, there's a whole lot of research out there that says there is a direct relationship to the economy and the amount of embezzlements. I'm not sure that's true. And the reason I say that is this. When you look at an embezzlement that's been going on for 5, 7, 10, 12 years, and you look at the economy at that time, it was always pretty good. In fact, if you go back just 10 years, it was really good. And then you tear it apart, and you find out that the money was not used to pay bills, buy food, or anything like that. It was used for gambling, drugs, travel, entertainment. Is that not just greed? Mm-hmm. So how is greed tied into the economy? It's not. What I do truly believe is that the economy uncovered more embezzlements that would have never been found. Because when people start paying attention to their money, you think about yourselves. When you have shortness of money, and you're in college, you always have shortness of money, okay? You start watching where it goes. Businesses are the same way. When it gets tight, you start paying attention to where it's at, okay? But one of the biggest things it is that if you pay attention to the risks, you understand your companies. You as auditors and tax people, when you have clients, if you don't spend enough time understanding your client's organization, go out and visit it, you're missing the beat. You need to go visit them. You need to go talk to them. You need to walk around to see what they do. You need to understand that business so you can help them understand the vulnerabilities. You need to understand them, okay? And obviously, preventing is cheaper than investigating. Obviously cheaper. Keep that. If that's the one thing you pick up from tonight, remember that one. Preventing is cheaper than investigating. Tell people. So why are we in demand? This may shock you. Well, we'll go here first. Everybody says, well, what does criminals look like? Well, here you go. We're going to see how good you folks are at matching up the criminal. We'll take this young lady right here. Nice smile, right? Does she look like someone who would be using a Wizinator? Okay, first question is, how many folks here know what a Wizinator is? Be honest. Okay. A Wizinator is a device that is used to get by drug tests. They put your urine in it, clean urine. You attach it to a part of your body. When you go in to give a drug test, in the little cup, this machine then puts that urine into the cup and not yours. It's illegal. Okay? So, anybody think that she used the Wisnator? No? How about, did she beat up a cop? Everybody hates cops, right? Okay. How about attempted strangulation?
I go with that.
That one? Do you like a strangler? Or she like an embezzler? No. How about burglary? Nobody's really sure? There you go. Good call. Yes! Yeah, she wrapped her hands around his neck and went, ew. You're not leaving me.
But she just said, he'll love me more than he loves me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now, let's take a look at some embezzlers. Let's take the gentleman on the far right. Looks like he stole from the PTA. Yeah? How about a rental scheme? City finance clerk, looks like he works for the city. No? Contractor, he looks like a contractor. Or human resources. There you go. What does a criminal look like? Look around the room. Okay? Good question. You should think about it. How many of you will turn to the dark side? It happens. I see it a lot. Okay. Question for you and your clients when you talk to them. If you had 5% of your annual revenue at your disposal, would you have a strategy to deal with it? The vast majority of them will tell you yes. I'd invest it, I'd save it, I'd buy this, I would buy that, I would expand, whatever else. I would have 5%. That'd be great. I wish I had 5% of my revenue to do it. The minute they answer that question, ask them this one. So what is your strategy to deal with 5% of your annual revenue that your company loses each year to fraud? What's your strategy for that one? The vast majority of people say they don't have one because it's not going to happen to me. Okay, well that's fine. 75% of businesses are affected by fraud. When you get into the medical and legal practice, it's over 80%. Okay, 5% of their total revenue. That's an average. Some lose 1%, some lose 20%. That's just an average. It takes from anywhere, it bounces between 18 and 24 months for it to be uncovered, not for it to be going on, just for it to be uncovered. And people say, well, I work for a small company. Yeah, you do. The vast majority of companies that lose money have less than 100 employees. Because we're what? We're a close-knit group of people that does what? Trust each other. Okay? It happens in churches, it happens in nonprofits, it happens all over the place because we trust each other. And we don't verify anything. And I can tell you that every single investigation that I've ever done as a detective or as a forensic accountant is because of that. Or circumvented or non-existent internal controls. You would be amazed how many businesses just do not have the internal controls. They just don't care. You would be amazed how many places have them but don't enforce them. Don't update them. Don't ask for questions. Okay? So when we talk about the fraud profile, the median loss for owner executive is $573,000. If you're a manager, like the young lady in the back over there, she can steal $180,000. Okay? 77% of frauds were committed by individuals in one of 6 departments. Where do you folks work? Accounting. Number 1. Operations, sales, executive upper management, customer service, and purchasing. That is where most of the people worked in a business that stole money, in one of those 6. 87% of fraudsters had no prior fraud convictions. 81% of fraudsters displayed one or more of the following behavioral red flags: living beyond their means, financial difficulties, close association with vendors and customers, or excessive control issues. Normally they had more than one. And this is what we look for when we go in someplace. If you guys have questions, just raise your hand. You can throw rocks or whatever out there. So when we talk about fraud, it's actually a very large thing. This is what we talk about when we divide it up into 3 main areas. When we talk about this, we talk about $120,000 for an asset, $250,000 for corruption. Those two are actually down a little bit over the last 2 years. Financial statements is $1 million. It was actually $4.1 million 2 years ago. It's actually gone down. The one thing that should jump off this page at you is that the higher you are up in the organization, the more money you can steal. because you're in a more trusted position. People like you, they give you more responsibility. So when you look at this, and you determine how much money is actually stolen, you find that $3.5 trillion is lost annually to fraud. And people go, wow, that's a lot of money globally. How about the United States? Well, we normally lose between 990 and 994 billion a year. That's about what we lose. People go, wow, that's still a lot of money. Yeah, it is. So here's another perspective for you. The United States spent a total of $940 billion from 2001 to 2009 on the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. We lose $994 a year to fraud. I'd take it $117 billion a year. That'd be a heck of a change. But when you go the other way, during that same eight-year period, $7.9 trillion was lost in the United States alone to fraud. How much of that affected your school? How much of that affected your state? How much of that affected the churches you belong to, the nonprofits you go to, the places that you shop? How much of that affected them? It's a huge amount of money, and it has to stop. This is about if you plan on going into the public sector with public companies like the big people. This is from 1998 to 2007. They found out that financial fraud affects companies of all sizes. Their medium-sized company has revenues of 100 million, big companies. The median loss in these was 12.1 million. 30 companies lost 500 million or more. CEOs and CFOs combined were involved in 89% of frauds examined. Big boys taking money. And the one that absolutely amazes me is this one. Initial news of the fraud, whether it is real or not, just the mere fact of it hitting the news affected their stock by 16.7%. It dropped the minute it hit the news. I tell people, if I own a company, even if I don't have stock, if that's not a reason to try to prevent it and keep my money, I don't know what is. That's amazing. 16%. Can you imagine how much money that is to some places? That's a huge amount of money. And according to these people, anybody want to work for them? Good. No. KPMG says that they're male, 35 to 45. They commit fraud against their employer. They work in a finance function or finance-related area, those 6. Holds a senior management position, is employed with the company more than 10 years, and works in collusion with one other person. There's an old saying, 3 people can keep a secret if 2 are dead. There's an organization that believes that. In fact, it's in their bylaws. And when I used to work organized crime and street gangs, I used to run into them a lot. That organization is called the Hells Angels. That's one of the rules they live by. Association Certified Fraud Examiners walked into businesses, and so we like to do a survey. And they walked in and talked to all the employees. The question was, will you steal from your employer? 40% said, no, not me. I would never steal. I like my job. I like security. I would never take anything from them. 30% said, I will. If it ain't locked up, tied down, behind a door, somewhere else, if I can get my hands on it, I'm stealing it. Okay? The issue is the 30% that said that they might. Depending on how bad it got, depending on what happened in my life, depending on what was going on with my kids, I might steal. So what that's telling you is on any given day, 60% of your employees can be stealing from you. 60% can be taking something from you. Some because they want to, and some because they feel they have to. So why do people steal? Very simple. We call it the fraud triangle. That's 3 sides. You have depression, you have a lifestyle. The lady from the moving company, her husband was fighting chronic depression and clinical depression, excuse me. If you've never dealt with anybody that has clinical depression, it is a devastating disease. And it can absolutely overwhelm the family. He lost his job, they started to lose things. They had 3 small boys. She didn't want their lifestyle to change while he was recovering, so she started taking money. It was just to maintain the lifestyle. But then you have people that do this. Financial losses, gambling, drugs. It's amazing how much now is being used on pornography. going over the internet. Job dissatisfaction, people just don't like their job. These are the ones I like. They want to see if they can beat the system. I want to see if they can beat me. Have fun. The right amount of pressure can cause even honest people to commit fraud. Absolutely, that's true. So what you have to do is, if you have a person that's under is going through a divorce, financial issues, and you're there, you need to make a recommendation, especially if they're in sensitive positions, and some of their responsibilities to be taken away from them until that situation is done. Help them so they don't have to steal. So the opportunity, they take a level of what? Trust within the company. Will you trust you? And their ability to somehow exploit their job duties. They have to be trusted, and they have to be able to manipulate the system. Okay? And this is some of the contributing factors. Lack of controls, inability to judge what this person actually do. Lack of access to information, no audit trail. That's amazing how people just throw things away. But I truly believe this is probably the main two. Lack of discipline, or ignorance or apathy. Ran into a dentist not too long ago. I was doing a presentation in another state, and she walked up to me and she goes, "I wish I'd known you about 8 months ago." And I said, "You know, in my line of work, that means something really bad happened, and you're just now figuring it out." She goes, "Yeah, I just wrote off $1.6 million my bookkeeper took." And I said, "And?" "Well, I fired her." "Okay. And?" "Well, I hired somebody else." "Okay. And?" So, "No, nothing, we just let her go. She's working for somebody else now." I said, "Doctor," I said, "you have to forgive me. I'm at such a loss for words. I don't know what to tell you because you're so wrong." I said, "You don't know whether she actually took $1.6 million or $2.6 million or $3.6 million. You don't know what damage she's actually done to your business. And the fact that you're not holding her accountable means that she can go someplace else and do it to someone else." "Well, yeah, she's working for a friend of mine." "Really? That doesn't bother you?" "Well, that's his problem." "What? That's our problem. That's everybody's problem." Okay? This is amazing. All you have to do is rationalize it. Okay, here's a question. How many of you here like desserts? Okay. How many of you exercise on a regular basis? Okay. How many of you go, "You know, if I put 10 more minutes on the treadmill, I can have this other piece of cheesecake"? Okay, that's called rationalization. It's going to taste really good. Okay, I'll do the other 10. Maybe tomorrow. Okay? But all you have to do is rationalize this. It is absolutely amazing to me what the human brain can rationalize. It's what you can get used to. I'll borrow it, I'll pay it back. We actually saw it happen once. Is that the people, their money, their deposits, kept being over. They couldn't figure out why. 100 here, 200 there. They go, "What the heck's going on?" We went in, the lady was actually repaying what she stole.
Wow.
I'd never seen that before. She was actually repaying. She had a lot to repay. She didn't get there because she's now in jail, but at least she was trying. You know? It's not, amazing. I'm not hurting anyone, it's just money. When I got involved in this, I was working organized crime, I said, street gangs. I had this sergeant come up to me, and he goes, "Won't you work fraud?" And I went, "Fraud? You mean like with a calculator and a slide rule and numbers and all that kind of stuff?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well, wait a minute, I'm pointing guns at people and driving fast and running lights and stuff, that's fun." I can punch people now and then, that, you know, they got frustration, all that kind of stuff. "Yeah, but if you come do this, you're going to be putting people in jail, in prison, that don't think they're hurting anyone, because it's just money. And sometimes people can't speak for themselves, especially the elderly." And I went, "You know, I never thought about it like that." And that's why I took the job. And I've been doing it ever since. Not that serious. They owe it to me, I deserve it. Okay? Yeah, put yourselves on fun. What have you rationalized? How easy was it? It's that easy for someone else too. So when we talk about fraud, these are the common fraud schemes. It's amazing, they never change. Because they're still out there because people don't do anything to stop them. I wish somebody would do something just to take one of them and stop it. So we can take it off the list. You know, it's like, "Oh, everybody stop this one." We can go through there. Okay, here for you accountants, there's the types, there's on book and off book. I really don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But I have to tell you that because it's part of the work. Skimming. Okay, I'm gonna date myself. How many folks here ever saw the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze? Okay, a long time ago. What it is he plays a cooler. A cooler is a guy that goes in and makes sure when fights start in a bar, he ends them before they get out of hand. A great job. You know, he's fun people. But it shows a scene in there. This guy is just taking a $100 bill out of the cash register and sticking in his pocket. That's skimming. Okay. Cash receipts, unrecorded sales, inventory off the dock. Had a tile company that couldn't figure out what was happening to their inventory. They had no idea. So we went and watched and just stood around. As it came in the front gate, they had people that stood there and signed everything in. They checked everything coming in the gate, right? Unloaded it, put it in the parking lot. And it sat there for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. And then it got picked up and put in the warehouse. But nobody ever checked it going from the parking lot into the warehouse. So when we started checking the videotapes, we found out that customers were driving up, get out of their truck and go, yo, I need that. They just grabbed it and stick it back in the car. Customers were doing that. Employees were doing that. And they were just driving off with it. And they were sometimes very, oh man, I forgot to tell you, I put that in the back of my truck. Right? Could be a legitimate mistake. The problem is the company had no idea what they were losing because they were not taking care of it. Once we solved that, they were able to take care of it. This was actually the accountant at that tile company. What she was doing is, everybody here lapping checks, you know what that is? That's what she was doing. She was taking them, lapping them, and they found out that she missed one, $220,000 she got. She actually ended up, that was at the time it was uncovered, she actually got more than that. Now, in my line of work, these are probably the best investigations you can do, because you go in undercover, and you eat, you drink for free. Have a lot of fun. This one just happened to be in a strip club. It was tough to be in cop. It was tough to go in and have to partake of the strip club while it was in, yeah, okay. But what do you do?
Lie to me.
Yeah, exactly. I was paying attention to every bit of it, honest. Okay? But what you do is you go in, and there's only certain ways people can steal money from restaurants, and you're used to looking for those. But what you do at the end of the night, you go in with the owner and you count the revenue. And you see how much cash you've got coming in. And you do that for 3 nights in a row. And then next week, you have you guys are the employees, and I'm the boss. And I would bring you all in and say, look, I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting audited. And I got a bunch of auditors coming in, they're going to be walking around, they're going to be talking to you, they're going to be asking you questions. And just do what they want you to, just go about your job, do them, just answer their questions. So we flood the place with enough to cover every point of sale terminal. So there's no chance of them stealing money. You set up what we call perception detection. How many of you folks in your speed if you think you're going to get caught speeding? How many of you run a stop sign if you think you're going to get caught? No difference in theft. If you believe that you're going to get caught, you don't do it. So this happened. We went back after that for a week, 3 nights. Found out that he was missing $10,000 a week in cash. $40,000 a month he was losing. He called all his employees in, fired every one of them. Said that I can close for 2 weeks and hire new staff and lose less money than you guys are stealing from me. And fire them all. The new people came in, he put them all together, and he said, my last staff stole $40,000 a month from me. If I catch one of you stealing, all of you are fired. He's never lost another dime. Because how many of you, when you have that job, you want to keep that job? So you're going to be telling, not me, buddy, put the money back. Okay? I'm not losing my job because of you. Conversion, checks to cash, inventory to cash, alter payee, open accounts in money. They may just write their name on the check. They may just add it to it, whatever else. Which is what this young lady was doing at a healthcare facility. They would either leave them blank or she just put a slash and put her name on there. Nobody was paying any attention. She got $320,000 from this account for the checks. Billing. Fictitious vendors. It's absolutely amazing to me how many times there's fictitious vendors in a business and people miss them. Overpayments, paying returns, personal purchases. This was an AP employee, just set up a shell company, just put it in the books, right? Started making up invoices and submitted them, just sent them in. No work, no materials, nothing was ever sent to the company. $170,000 with nothing being done. Payroll, those employees. It's amazing how many times people, even though you only work with 80, 90 people, how many of them are real? How many of them do you see? How many of them are not falsifying their timesheets? You know, that's like this guy was doing. He was a superintendent at a construction site. He was keeping people, and then he would just fire them and forget to tell bookkeeping that he had fired them, and he would falsify their timesheets. So when the checks would come out, they would be paid. He would go out to deliver them, and he would just take those, forge their name, and deposit them in his own account. Well, this guy only got $11,000 in 3 months because unfortunately he got sick one payday and couldn't go to work. Somebody else had to do his job, and they found, wait a minute, these guys don't work here anymore. So they started checking into it. So what I always tell people, the moral of the story is that if you're going to use this scheme to steal money, you have to go to work. You can't let somebody else steal for you. You have to show up. Even if you don't feel well, you don't take some NyQuil or whatever else and go to work so you can steal your own money. You can't do that. Okay? Expenses. All the different things. This guy was pretty cool. I liked him. And what he did is when you travel a lot, you get status. Gold, silver, platinum, all this kind of stuff. Well, he was a member of one of these travel clubs, and he stayed in hotels quite a bit. So he went down and said, Joe, I collect letterhead. Can I have some of your letterhead? Yes, valued customer. We'll be glad to give you letterhead. So they gave him his letterhead so he could have it. He then took that letterhead and started falsifying receipts for overnight stays in hotels and turning them in. He got $160,000 for overnight stays in hotels that he never stayed in. And the only reason this was caught is somebody stuffing envelopes happened to notice that he was getting 2 checks for 2 different cities dated for the same day. That's how that was uncovered, by accident. If you work for a business or you have a client that has a cash register, here's an internal control that's free of charge. Tell them, take a little sign that says, customer, please demand receipt. So they take the receipts. If not, you may have somebody like this guy. He's a store manager. He walks around, picks up the receipts. Would you like your receipt? No, you can throw it away. Okay, thank you. Put it in his pocket and stands at the register at the end of the night and voids the amount for 50 grand and then quits. So he gets 50 grand left. Nonprofits, no money losing in nonprofits, right? This was a Firemen's Relief Association. This president happened to be male. You know, I used to be able to call con men, but I put as many women in prison as I have men, so I have to call them con persons because it doesn't, you know, you can't be, that'd be general neutral, right? Okay, that was funny. But this guy was just doing things for himself, $83,000 from that benefit. You know, it would seem amazing to me that at some point, someone would notice that 431 checks were issued to her, you know, out of the bank account. That's kind of strange, right? Nobody paid any attention. She was just paying her car payments, mortgage, clothes, just doing whatever she wanted to. $232,000 from the church. When we finish this one, this even amazed us. This nonprofit was a nonprofit that was set up to hold concerts to benefit other nonprofits. They would go in conjunction with other nonprofits. Concerts would come in, all the money would be brought in, all the bills would be paid, what was left over they would divide it between the nonprofits, right? She had $647,000 in cash that didn't go to the nonprofits. That was amazing to me, that nobody caught that. How about the news? We even go back. As a CPA, this went on from 92 to 2008. How many years is that? Okay, stealing money. How about this janitor, but he got $461,000. That's a pretty good job for a janitor. I wouldn't mind having that job. No stress there. This is part of the learning curve that Colorado is going through, and they will for quite some time in reference to white collar crime. This gentleman stole $1.46 million. They let him out of jail on $25,000 bail. He's still on the run. He's not showed back up. When people steal millions, you gotta hold them. You can't let them walk out the door because that money's gone. You know, I saw this one. This happened over 10 years. There were 400 people involved in this that invested over $31 million into this 10 years, and not a single person went, Excuse me, well, what are you doing with my money? Can I see an accounting of my money? I'd like to know what you're doing with it, where you're investing it. Nobody asked. How many of you have heard of a gentleman by the name of Bernie Madoff? Do you know what the one question nobody asked Mr. Madoff was? And if they would have asked him, none of that probably would have happened. Are you a licensed security seller? He was not. Nobody asked him because everybody trusted him. Broomfield, $100,000 from school. I'm from Arizona, I'm a transplant, so I tried to share stuff from there. I always thought this one was rather interesting. This young lady sold $228,000 from basketball kids. She did it in 20 months. She enhancements she provided for herself. I was kind of curious, how do you repossess those? That's pretty expensive enhancements, you know, $228,000. Yeah. I thought they were like 10 grand, but who knows? Right. This person stole $1.1 million. How would you like to be this lady's boyfriend? She pays you $181,000 for 3 years worth of work. Also pays your health insurance, and you don't even have to work. So it's $181,000. Used to do a lot of work in Oklahoma. This is one from there. Tribal government. $1.5 million from oil company. This was a small school district. This $8,000 just about bankrupt them. Doesn't matter the size. $500,000 from the authority here. 1.4 million, 51 counts. This one took, you figure they invest 1.4 million over 2 years. They must be doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Not to worry about it. So, how is a forensic accountant helpful? Well, if you have lack of controls, prevention. This is what your impact. Opportunity for theft. Inaccurate financial statements. Amazing. Oh, my financial statements are right. Well, you lost $1.5 million. How can they be right? What's going on? Disregard of policy procedures. This is how we can help solve them. Review it, implement, assess the risk, and implement a hotline. So, if you don't do background checks on people, loss of productivity, loss of man hours, lawsuits, especially if you're in a service area, you know, the background checks, criminal checks, credit checks. If you're not doing sex offender registry and you hire a predator and you send that predator into someone's home and they assault somebody, you're probably going to be on the hook. Impact. Suspicion of fraud, this is just the detection. People are disappointed with the company's handling. How many of you want to work for a company that doesn't take care of itself? How many of you want to work for a company that doesn't watch its money? That doesn't want to know that your paycheck's going to be good? Okay? So, if you don't like them, you're going to leave. Decrease the company morale, because if they don't care about the company, why should I? Okay? Be amazed. One person leaves, another just picks up the same fraud. So we resolve allegations, review the books and records, and interview employees. It's amazing what employees know. Actual investigations. If you lose the money, you go bankrupt, loss of trust, unrecoverable. We had a bank not too long ago that new controller came in. We're only 2 branches on the bank. And the new controller goes, hey, when was the last time we did a money count? Oh, it's been a while. Okay. Well, let's just go count the money in the safe. All right, well, this branch is supposed to have, you know, $200,000 or whatever it was in there. Okay, well, let's go look. They just show up. Hi, I'm the new controller. I'm here to count the cash with one of my associates. Oh, okay. You might find some cash missing out of the vault. Oh, okay. Well, we'll deal with that in a minute. All right. They go in. There's $200,000 missing. They walk out and go, excuse me, Mr. Manager, where'd everybody go? 3 letters of resignation, 3 sets of keys, all 3 of them stolen money together, went down the street and put it into a casino, and they left. Wow. So this is how you can do it. Determine who's involved. Legal disputes, we resolve allegations, no he said, she said. Never forget about computers, because once it happens, it's always there. We impact the case because we testify as the expert witness. We're testifying there. We're not your everyday accountants, as you can see. I'm a little weird. We look outside that box, unless it's Jack in the Box, and it's okay, because they got good dollars. Always asking why. Sound like a 2-year-old. Fine. I bring additional resources. What's really cool for me is that I no longer have to be the smartest person in the room, because I can go find people like them that are. And if I need something done, they can do it for me and explain it to me that I can go do it somewhere else. I don't have to be that smart anymore. It's just kind of nice in my opinion. And obviously I'm independent. I had an attorney ask me the other day, hey, can you go into a boardroom and tell a CEO he's full of hot air? Well, he had some other acronyms. I said, please. I haven't done that in a long time. Please let me. I wouldn't go tell. So I tell people when they're looking for a forensic accountant, these are the services they need to look for. They should provide all of these. If they don't, go find another one, because they're not well-rounded enough. Okay? Any questions? Okay, somebody's got a question. I know they do. Yes, ma'am.
What did it take for you to become certified?
Yeah, which one?
Any of them.
Certified Fraud Examiner is a 4.4-part test that is 1,500 questions. That it's almost like the CPA test, but not as difficult. Okay. That yeah, you guys are going through CPAs. You guys are nuts. You realize a CPA test is worse than a bar?
That's what it is.
Okay, like I said, you guys are crazy. That was 1,500 questions. My CFI was, because of my interview training, I had to go through so much training, and that was a 3-hour computer-generated test that you had to pass or fail. And 10 questions into that test, I thought I was going to fail it. That is the hardest test I've ever taken in my life, outside, I mean, including both of my masters. Nothing was ever that hard except that test. My CFCI, I had to apply for that, show certain, I was basically grandfathered into it because I've been a member of the organization since the early 90s and had passed all the qualifications. Kind of that. Yes, sir.
On the slide you said 89% of the fraud occurs amongst CFOs and CEOs in these corporations. And one of the items you had in there was lifestyle. So I'm a little confused. If CFOs and CEOs are usually paid so well, why would they be motivated besides, and you said it's an emotional, irrational thing there.
Why do they do it?
Yeah, in your experience, what's the most common or general remotivation?
Usually it's because they're trying to assist somebody in their family. First investigation I did for Eide Bailly was a bank in Minnesota. Bank was in a town, it's actually called Leroy now, actually it's called Leroy, Minnesota. 952 people. Bank president's average annual salary was $130,000 a year. He stole $530,000 from the bank.
Wow.
His reason was that his children were not living the lifestyle that he wanted them to live, and he needed the extra money to be able to help them live the lifestyle they were living.
So it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Why did the woman steal $54 million to buy horses?
Yeah. Okay.
She liked horses.
Clearly, yeah, and they're expensive.
Exactly, they're very expensive. It all is about greed. It is about having that, it's about being able to have that other house. It's about being able to have that other car. It's about being able to do what you want to do. Okay? Me, I like for 6 months to be rich enough that I didn't have to look at a price tag.
Right.
You know? They have the black card, they don't have to look for anything. They just hand them and pay for it. Okay? But that's it. They feel entitled. I'm the CEO. I can do what I want to. It's my money. They start that, so they start spending. Anybody else? Yes.
Do you miss the excitement of like the organized crime and
Every
car
day.
chases?
Every day. Yeah, I do. The only reason I left police work was my late wife, last time she picked me up at the emergency room, I was there with a cracked open skull and concussion. I was chasing a guy who went for counterfeiting and chased him over a fence, and he made it and the fence collapsed on me, and I am in the hospital with concussion stuff and basically dead if he wanted to kill me. And after 20 some odd years, she walked into the emergency room and looked at me, and I could tell her, I said, "You're done, aren't you?" She goes, "I had enough of this." In my 27 plus years, I was shot at 9 times, I was stabbed once, I was in the hospital 7 times. I was hit by pole cues, beer bottles, cars, bricks, 2x4s, and then finally my body gave out. And to this day, it's a young man's job, but I do miss it every day. Anybody else? Well, there's actually some questions I get asked. Am I related to Johnny? According to my grandmother, I am. If you would like to fight with her, please do. I don't care. It's not my job. No, I did not change my last name to Fraud. It has been Cash for quite some time. I actually have a son who is engaged to a young lady. Her last name is Coin. C-O-I-N. They're getting married in April, and actually they're waiting for tax season so my fiance can go. They're going to hyphenate her name, Cash and Coin. I can't wait to see the announcement in the paper because I'm sending that one to Jay Leno. I had an attorney one time ask me if my middle initials stand for Embezzle, because it is E. That's fine. Embezzle Cash, that's pretty cool. I like that one. I had people when I was a lobbyist for many years and actually thought about getting involved in politics. Thank you for not letting me. But they used to say, God, look what you can do with your name. Everybody likes Cash. Everybody loves Cash. Cash is king. Oh, that's pretty cool. But the biggest one I get asked all the time is, what's the biggest difference between what you do now and what you do as a detective? And that's the only thing. I don't put handcuffs on people anymore. But God, I miss that sound. There is something about that clicking of handcuffs going on somebody, you just go, oh, it's a good day. So, you know, like anytime a bell rings, an angel gets his wings, I just have a set of handcuffs that when I get down, I just spin them. Just hear that clicking, and I go, oh, it's a good day. Someone's going to jail. That's what I do. And unfortunately, I can't show this to you, but if you go to YouTube and type in, what's it like to be a policeman? Paul Harvey will come up. This is the closest example you can see about what it is to be a cop. It's not a lot of fun sometimes, but it's what I did. If you haven't noticed, there's a couple of things that I'm very passionate about, and this happens to be one of them. And I always share a little bit of myself with people I speak to. I truly believe that talent is a gift, character is a choice. I believe that God gives us our talent. How we choose to use that is entirely up to us. I believe to my soul that people cannot rise above the limitations of a character. That you have to have character to be able to be a trustworthy individual. Why the CIA has this, I'm not sure, but this is on their emblem, and you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. I believe that truth fears nothing. I believe that it fears nothing at all. I believe that all it fears is concealment. I believe that the more brutally honest we are with people, the truthful we are, the better we are. I challenge you to do nothing but tell the truth. The truth never changes, lies always do. Always. The truth will set you free. It may make you miserable at first, but I absolutely guarantee you that it will set you free. And in an 18-month span, I lost my wife, my mom, and my granddaughter. And that's the only one that got me through. The only used day was yesterday. This is my contact information. I have a few business cards if you'd like to have one. If not, I wish you nothing but the best in your career, even if you're going into audit. I'm sorry. If I can ever be of any assistance, please feel free. Talk to the young people that work for us. You're going to find out it's a phenomenal place to work. If you have anything else, I'm done. I'll be around for a few minutes. Thank you for your time.